We'd like to welcome you to BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. State Senator Cathy Pugh, how are you?
Just great. Great to be here.
Good, good. The Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland, big weekend coming up November 4th through 6th.
Yes, very exciting weekend beginning November the 4th, and we start off on November the 4th with a prayer breakfast, something we haven't done in a while, which I think is very appropriate. We have Bishop Vasti McKenzie, who's going to be coming in to speak with the Legislative Black Caucus and those who are in attendance, as well as right after the breakfast, we're going to have a meeting of pastors from around the state. Everybody's invited to join us in the discussion because what we want to talk about is how do you build wealth in the African American community and at the same time deal with the poverty that the African American communities are facing, especially as it relates to debt? How do we deal with the housing crisis that's happening in our community? And again, how do we also build wealth from generation to generation? I think that's really very important. That's the beginning. And then we move from there into a youth summit, which actually begins at 9 a.m. because the youth are coming from across the state. There are like 300 or 400 youth from across the state that will be there. And we've allowed them to craft their own agenda. They'll be dealing with everything from social media to how to go to college or what to do if I decide I don't want to go to college. And so that's just going to be exciting. So they'll be having their own discussions. We'll be monitoring those discussions, trying to see if there's any legislation that we need to craft as a result of it, as well as providing them with opportunities to apply for scholarships, over $25,000 in scholarships that will be available. So we're really excited about that as well. And then I think what's important to the community is from 12 to 4 p.m. we'll have what we call an advocacy day. And this is where community groups, organizations from all across the state can come and talk to the caucus about how do I get my point across? How do I get my legislation passed? How do I get issues of concern that I want to move forward in Annapolis? How does that get done? So we'll be sitting there listening to the various community groups and organizations and at the same time instructing them on how they get that kind of attention. And I think Senator Larry Young is going to be speaking there because he's going to be talking to them about how they, in fact, can get publicity towards their particular issues. So I think that's going to be a very good piece. And then later on that evening from 4:30 till about 6 p.m., there'll be wealth managers from across the country, at least 40 different managers who deal with managing pension funds. And they're going to be talking about how does the state of Maryland move from what it's already done to the next level. We passed the bill back in 2000 and I think it was 2008, which required the state to diversify its pension portfolio. And as a result, they've gone from less than $300,000 being managed by minority and African American firms to close to 2 billion, and they can go further. And so we want to have those discussions. Black Enterprise magazine is doing a reception for those individuals later on that afternoon. But what is really good about this particular group of folks is that they have decided to stay around and talk, come in early rather, and speak to the young people about how they got to where they are. And again, an opportunity for young people to begin to start shaping the roadmap to their own success. So I think that's really exciting. Then on Friday, we have a series of workshops, everything from economic development to the crisis in our schools, to looking at how do we keep children in school, to how do we support our black colleges and institutions, and again, how do we continue to build wealth in our communities, access to capital, a whole range of activities. And then on Saturday, we leave Annapolis, we come to Baltimore. We start out with a business over breakfast with Ed Gordon from CNN, BET. He will be moderating a panel of business people to talk about how they got to where they have gotten to and the various struggles that they've had to go through so that people won't continue to make the same mistakes over and over. Following the breakfast, we have a jobs fair, which I think is really interesting. Everybody from Constellation Energy to University of Maryland will be there searching for individuals who are looking for jobs. And so we're asking people come dress for success. These are real jobs and real job opportunities. And there are also going to be people from the state level who will be assisting folks who are interested in going into business, how to navigate that MBE, WBE process, exciting. And then from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Reginald Museum in downtown Baltimore, we'll be celebrating our 40-year history by having a conversation with Diane Bell McCoy. And if you've not participated in her conversations, this is going to be excellent. She's going to be meeting with the 12 legislators who were former presidents or living of the Black Caucus to talk about some of the obstacles they've overcome, some of the things that they moved forward as presidents of the Legislative Black Caucus. That will take place at the museum, and then we come back that evening for a great evening of entertainment, VIP reception, swearing in of the new officers, and then following that, Anthony Anderson will be doing a comedy show. People didn't know that he was a comedian on Law and Order. He's on Law and Order, but he's a comedian, so he's going to be doing a comedy show. And then following that, if people want to dance all night, come join us, Legislative Black Caucus weekend. We're going to have a great time of learning, experiencing each other, sharing information, and hopefully growing in the process.
The one and only State Senator Cathy Pugh, Chair of the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And keep watching BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.